Tonight on News 5 Live, 2 killed in Crawl Road shooting. Fisheries personnel held up at Bacalar Chico. Missing fishermen's boat found in the sea full of bullet holes, and armed robbers hitting Orange Walk and Kayo shops, maybe from Belize City. These stories and more coming up next on News 5 Live.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Full-Tech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
The Social Security Board, in collaboration with the Labor Department, takes this opportunity to remind insured persons of the requirements for compensation when on sick leave. Any employee who has worked with an employer for at least 2 months is entitled to 16 working days of sick leave with full pay every year. This is how it works. Upon approval of a sickness or injury benefit claim by SSB, 80% of the employee's weekly insurable earnings is paid as a Social Security benefit, and the difference in the employee's salary is paid by the employer. This is to ensure that the employee does not suffer any loss of wages when ill. After 16 days, compensation for sick leave is paid as a Social Security benefit only. Some conditions apply. This message is brought to you by the Social Security Board and the Labor Department. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Introducing Edam A cheese, the A+ Dutch cheese to hit the Belizean market. As the name says, it is of A-class quality, the best Dutch cheese in Belize. Edam A cheese is creamier, less salty, and simply more delicious. Don't be left out. Get your A cheese at a supermarket near you. A cheese, exclusively distributed by Unitex Company Limited. Call us at 610-3626 or 610-8910. Follow us on Facebook at Unitex Belize.
That's the sound of fuel efficiency. Every day, every time, I choose Una Fuels, powered with Dynamax. Una, a brand committed with the future.
How does COVID-19 affect the body?
How concerned should I be about COVID variants?
How effective is the COVID-19 vaccine?
What are the side effects of the vaccine?
How will this pandemic come to an end?
How do I keep my family and myself safe?
We all have many questions about COVID. Here's a chance to get your answers. On Monday, July 26, a team of medical experts and COVID survivors will answer these questions and more in a show where you get the facts, dispel the myths. The live discussion on COVID-19 starts at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 5 and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Post your questions using hashtag #GetTheFacts.
Good evening and welcome to News 5 Live for Monday, July 26th. I am Sabrina Daly. Deadly gunfire erupted on Crawl Road on Sunday night, and in the aftermath, 2 Belize City men lay mortally wounded. Sometime before 9 o'clock, Gary Young was inside a yard near Hines Street socializing with several other persons when a pair of men arrived at their location. Shortly after, multiple shots were fired in Young's direction. Injured, the 24-year-old got on his bicycle and attempted to ride onto Neil's Pen Road, but he wouldn't make it far before collapsing. His assailant, identified as 31-year-old Matthew Guy, was also struck by someone who returned fire from the property. This morning, Assistant Superintendent Fitzroy Yearwood described the circumstances surrounding the deadly encounter.
Sometime around 8:30 last night, police visited the yard at the corner of Hines Street and Crawl Road, where they gathered information that Mr. Gary Young was transported to the KHMH with gunshot injuries. It's unfortunate that when the police went to Hushna Memorial Hospital, he had already passed away within like 10 minutes or so of police receiving that report. We understand that Mr. Young was in a yard with other persons socializing when Matthew Guy arrived at that place along with another person and opened fire on the crowd. Unfortunately, Mr. Young got hit and rode off in the vicinity of Pen Road, where he collapsed and was later transported to Hushna. Whilst Guy was fleeing the scene, someone from in that group returned fire and caught Mr. Guy, who was also rushed to the KHMH and succumbed to his injury.
According to ASP Yearwood, the incident is not being investigated as a double murder, notwithstanding the fact that police have not determined whether the weapon used to kill Guy is a licensed firearm.
It is not a double murder. It's a murder and a loss of life investigation. One, the shooter that attacked Mr. Gary Young, he made his target. He was just unfortunate that one of the friends of Young returned fire. So in all essence, he was the orchestrator that initiated the crime. One, had Mr. Matthew Guy survived, he probably would have been charged for murder, but like I said, it's there and then. He was not allowed to flee the scene, and with that return fire from someone in that yard where Mr. Young died, we have classed it as a loss of life investigation.
How do you arrive at that in the absence of perhaps first being able to ascertain if the weapon used to fire back is licensed?
That's what I'm saying, we are investigating it. But for us to categorize it as a murder in the beginning, we would be wrong also. So at the end of our investigations, we will be guided by the DPP office as to what, if any, charges would be filed against the person or persons that return fire.
A team of law enforcement officers is investigating a robbery involving a duo of Hispanic men and Belize Fisheries Department personnel. The Belizeans were in the Bacalar Chico Reserve conducting marine studies in the water when they were fired upon and robbed by men who came up to them in a boat. The thieves took 2 firearms, fuel, cell phones, and various other items from the vessel. News 5's Paul Lopez has been following the story since Saturday.
A Belizean fisheries ranger and a biologist were robbed at gunpoint by 2 Mexicans while conducting studies at sea.
They received report of tampering with coral in the Boca Bacalar Chico Reserve area. And when they responded, initially there was a Mexican skiff not too far from them. The occupants of that skiff turned away as if they were going towards Mexico.
The fisheries officer then proceeded to enter the water to conduct his studies on the coral in the area. That is when the skiff returned.
When it returned, the officer that was remaining on the vessel claims that the captain of that other vessel pointed a firearm at him, whilst another gained access to their vessel and robbed him of several items, including 2 firearms and their extra fuel.
This occurred on Sunday afternoon, some 20 miles out at sea. Coast Guard personnel witnessed the incident from a nearby station, but they were unable to assist because a vessel was not available to them at the time.
What happened is that the Coast Guard have a vessel at that location, but at that time the vessel was not at the station. Yes, they could see what happened at sea, but they cannot respond because the incident happened in the waters, no?
The vessel, says Senior Chief Sambula, was taken by the officer in command to San Pedro for administrative work, but returned shortly after an alert was issued.
Do you believe that these Mexicans were aware that your vessel was not at the location?
Yeah, as law enforcement officers, we try to do our best, but like the elements, they do monitor our movements, you know, and they reacted on that. We are very active in that area. We conduct a 24 hours patrol in that area. We monitor the area. We conduct law enforcement operation in that area. Like I said, it's very unfortunate the Mexican do, or the criminals, I would say, monitor the Coast Guard.
The victims of the robbery made their way to the nearby Coast Guard base, where they were able to receive assistance. The following day, a report was made at the San Pedro police station. We sought comments from the Fisheries Department, but were told that this is a sensitive matter that is being dealt with by police, interagencies, and Joint Intelligence Operations Center. Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.
The Belize Coast Guard is currently conducting a search for Carl Wagner after his fishing boat was found capsized and riddled with bullets. Wagner, a resident of Independence Village, set out to sea in a black and white boat named Nisha with a 70-horsepower Yamaha outboard engine on Friday night. No one has seen or heard from him since then. An official missing report has been made. The Coast Guard is treating Wagner's disappearance as urgent and asking for the public's help.
On Saturday, July the 24th at around 8:24 p.m., the Operations Center received a call in regards to a missing person on the vessel at sea. The individual who called, we informed them to make an official police report, which they did. The Coast Guard was activated. We later learned that the individual was one Mr. Carl Wagner from Independence. A search was conducted in the Coastal Key area, approximately 6 nautical miles south of that location, where the vessel was found. The vessel was recovered and the situation is under investigation at this time.
The vessel was found with bullet holes, though?
Yeah, the vessel was found with apparent bullet holes. The individual, as we speak at this time, is not yet found.
It has raised some interest of the police even more when his vessel was discovered by Independence Police. We have that vessel in police custody, but we cannot give a definite location of the owner. But I am certain that we are treating this incident with utmost urgency because, one, he was last seen on board his vessel. And if we have that vessel, we have to try to locate him.
Police have detained at least 2 people for questioning following the murder of a Guatemalan resident of Belmopan. On Saturday morning, a passerby found the lifeless body of 50-year-old Armando Cacao with a cut wound to the throat. He was last seen on Friday night, reportedly intoxicated. But those who knew Cacao described him as peaceful and harmless. Police are now trying to figure out why someone would want to take his life.
We know that on Saturday, police responded to a scene on Guyana Street, Belmopan, where they found the lifeless body of 50-year-old Armando Cacao with an apparent cut wound to the throat. Investigations in that immediate area revealed that sometime around 5:30 on the 23rd is when he was seen riding a bicycle in that area and was found by a passerby early Saturday, sometime around 4:30. We initially have 2 persons detained for questioning, and we hope that these persons could shed some light as to what happened to Mr. Cacao. Like I said, it's very sketchy. We took a while to try to locate someone that we believe is his only relative in Belize.
I don't see him as any other troublemaker or anything like that. He just from work to home, and that's it. He wouldn't go and hurt anybody that I would have known for. We couldn't believe it because when we got that news, the police came early in the morning Sunday, and they asked if Don Armando lived here, and we told them yes, and then we wanted to know why, and then right there they said that he died.
Por cierto que hasta la cachucha ha dejado botar el pobre ahí, y ahora como no me va a hacer falta, porque él venía, y si no yo le decía cuando venía, él me decía, ¿qué hay para comer? Ahorita vaya a traer unas tortillas que con frijoles vamos a comer. Sí, él a traer $2, $3, solo me preguntaba cuánto, y los poníamos al comer ahí adentro. De ahí para allá, pues no le puedo decir más nada. Lo que digo yo, que no lo hubieran hecho porque está anciano ya. No sé por qué lo hicieron.
Coming up, robberies in Orange Walk in San Ignacio may be from Belize City. The details from police after the break.
Boy, Billy King got one new label.
Pelican, the beer of Belize.
We all find ourselves reminiscing on life before COVID-19. Roaming freely, embracing without concern, laughing and enjoying the splendors of life. My, how we miss those times. It's time to get vaccinated so we can all start doing the things we love with the people we love in the safest possible manner once again. Digi, Mayona Resorts, and the Ministry of Health encourages all Belizeans to get your first and second vaccine for chances to win tons of awesome prizes now through September 30th. Win free LTE data packages every week, cash prizes, and a free 1-year mobile postpaid plan each month courtesy of Digi. Plus a weekend family getaway at a Mayona Gold Standard Resort each month, courtesy Mayona Resorts. Winners will be posted on Digi Facebook and Instagram and Ministry of Health's Facebook every Friday starting June 25th. Visit a vaccination center nearest you today. Get vaccinated and win. Visit livedigi.com for more details.
Galenia Hospital, located in Cancun, Mexico's premier tourism destination, is a state-of-the-art healthcare facility that provides highly specialized medical services. We are Quintana Roo's biggest private hospital with board-certified doctors and staff. Some of our services include cath lab, adult intensive care unit, neonatal intensive care unit, emergency rooms, operating theaters, ambulance services, and more. We are a medically accredited hospital by JCI, Accreditation Canada International, and General Health Council, providing extraordinary care in every specialty, from our cardiology department to our neurology center. We are focused on treating the entire person, body, mind, and spirit. Contact us at medicaltourism@hospitalgalenia.com or visit our website at www.hospitalgalenia.com. Come to Galenia Hospital in Cancun for a truly personal medical care experience.
Taught us the importance of being connected to the virtual world, and NextGen is here to keep its commitment to you. Even if you're physically apart, NextGen keeps you digitally connected.
Okay everyone, thank you for following me today.
NextGen provides more than just an internet plan. They provide service plans that support all your online needs. Sign up today and get your NextGen's ultra high-speed internet service. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
Over the weekend, There were a several string of armed robberies reported in the Orange Walk and Cayo districts, as well as at sea within the Bacalar Chico Marine Reserve. The Belize Police Department and the Belize Coast Guard are actively working to solve these property crimes and are narrowing down on the culprits. Tonight, News 5's Dwayne Moody reports on the surveillance videos that captured the frightening moments.
In the Orange Walk district on Friday night, armed robbers targeted Wendy's store on the Otro Benque Road. As patrons stood in line waiting to be dealt with by the cashier, 3 men wearing shorts and hoodies entered the shop. The one in black wielded a gun, while the other in red went behind the counter and proceeded to rob the establishment of about $400 in cash. The elderly proprietor, 68-year-old Yu Zhen Li, is assaulted by the gunman, while his wife Shan cowers in the corner. In the west, there was also an armed robbery at Super Q Mart on Bullet Tree Road in San Ignacio. 2 men, one wearing a red helmet and carrying a knapsack, and another wearing a camouflage bucket hat and wielding a firearm, entered the store and after removing the protective shield at the counter, proceeded to rob the shop owner of an undisclosed amount of money. No one was injured, and police, we are told, know who the culprits are. Communications Director Assistant Superintendent Fitzroy Yearwood says that the department is carrying out operations to curb these property crimes.
We, as a department, are working on the identity of these persons because we believe that these persons originate from Belize City. We are asking the general public to stop wearing these fishermen type masks, because in this video it's clear to be seen that this person was wearing a black one, and stick to more the surgical mask, or at least this one that you can identify yourself or people can identify you through. The moment you come out with that type of mask, you have some form of intent. The police department will not let easy on these robberies, and our ultimate aim is, if we cannot stop it, we will decrease it. We have several measures that we have taken operation-wise that we believe will bring a decrease in these sort of incidents.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Lake Independence resident Kareem Smith escaped grave injury on Sunday when he came under armed attack by someone who emerged from a vehicle on Mahogany Street. Smith, who is no stranger to the law, told police that he was near Flamboyant Street when the incident happened. An arrest has been made in that shooting.
Kareem Smith was on Mahogany Street, somewhere in the vicinity of Flamboyant, yesterday morning, when a blue Volkswagen Jetta approached him. One person exited the vehicle and opened fire on him. Luckily, he was not hit, but by the end of yesterday, Adrian Avaloy have been charged for aggravated assault in relation with this incident, because he was detained by officers who were not too far from the scene.
An attempt was also made on the life of a Belize City resident on Sunday. Ryan Foster was riding a bicycle in the company of another individual when they came under gunfire in the vicinity of Sarstoon Street. Foster was struck by one of the bullets and is hospitalized at the Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital. Viewers may recall that earlier this year, Foster was also injured in an officer-involved shooting when he allegedly attempted to escape from lawful custody at the Raccoon Street Police Station. Communications Director Fitzroy Yearwood shared a few details with the media earlier today.
When Foster was riding along with another male person on Sunday, when approaching an area on Sarstoon Street, they heard shots rang out. Foster was hit and transported to KHMH, where he's listed in a stable condition. suspects so far. We are interviewing persons in that area, persons of interest. But up to this time, we haven't brought any charges against anyone.
After the break, taking the vaccine to the people. News 5 checks the campaign to the Michael Finnegan market. But first, here's a look at the latest COVID-19 figures.
This COVID update is brought to you by Belize Medical Associates. This COVID update was brought to you by Belize Medical Associates.
Boy, Beliking gawa new label.
Why watch this?
Yo. This the my beer.
Belmopan, the beer of Belize.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime. While with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
It's time to put your TVs on lockdown. COVID won't stop us this time. After After a year of waiting, Summerfest is back, pandemic style. If you're under the age of 18 and you think you have the talent, we are looking for you. Submit videos to us on Facebook, Instagram, and email. Or join us here at Channel 5 on Coney Drive to audition from July 26th to 30th from 10 a.m. to midday. Be a part of Summerfest 2021 and show Belize your talent.
Last month, my father passed away due to COVID-19. My father was not vaccinated. He was not. To be truthful, the things he would have said would be the things that we're hearing around town. But there were also some of the other things, some of the other myths that really I was trying to tell him, no, Daddy, you need to get your vaccine. But I couldn't convince him in time.
I think what they're doing is a disservice to this country. In my mind, what they're doing is creating fear among people when they should be spreading a message of hope. What I hear them say has no basis, no scientific basis for the assertions they're making, and more than anything else, there's no legal basis for their assertion.
Would he have gotten that vaccine, he would still be here cracking his jokes and being his fun, crazy self, and we really miss him.
A Belize City man lost his house and all his belongings to a fire over the weekend. Tyrone Stevens had just left his house to go buy tacos, and minutes later he received the distress call. He hurried to JR Street to find the place he called home completely engulfed in flames. Nothing was saved, and he was left with only the clothes on his back. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
Tyrone Stephen left his home on Sunday morning to get some breakfast, and while checking in on his sister, he got one of the worst calls a person can get. The place he has called home since 2008 was on fire. He quickly jumped on his motorcycle and rushed home, but by then, everything had been destroyed and his life earnings gone.
After 6 in the morning, I found roughly about 3 past or so, probably. 5 past 6, and barely tacos or something to eat out there, no? I hear my little sister and I sit down and eat nothing and talk to sheep and her veranda. And while I did, my neighbor, the lady from across some charrette, give me a call. Tell me, Tyrone, your house is burned down. She crying in her voice. They tell me, your house is burned down. But I frightened. I tell her to come right now. My sister, hurry, call me, and I come on speed, going and I reach out the place. You know?
No one was inside the house at the time. There are 2 other wooden structures on the property on JR Street in the Jane Usher Boulevard area of Belize City. Luckily, the fire did not spread to any of the other structures. Stephen believes that the fire may have been caused by a mosquito fish coil that he left lit inside the wooden house.
I mean, if I have a piece of double fish light power pint buckle, right? When the bone can fly, me the bite the night, that a fly me come down. I guess, I don't know if something bump it or knock down. Probably touch against the sheet for the bed or a leak clot or something.
The National Fire Service responded and extinguished the blaze. However, their investigation of the scene confirmed the cause of the fire was electrical.
The fire started in the living room portion of the building and consumed the balance of the building. While we can conclude that the fire wasn't the act of stove being left on or something to that effect, what we have narrowed it down to, based on our findings, we have narrowed the cause of the fire to that of an electrical fan, which was a Alaska type in brand. Mr. Stephen placed himself in a bad situation when, first and foremost, he was found guilty of stealing electricity. So he's getting direct current from whichever source it might have been, any source except that from the EL, and then in turn, his overnight electrician just wired his house. The downfall with these fans is that they have a tendency to burn out after being left on for an extensive period of time. We've observed the electrical breakdown effect from the wiring to the fan, and that was what we believe could have contributed to the cause of Mr. Stevens' fire.
So not the fish coil?
Not the fish coil, that's a definite.
Stephen is appealing for assistance with material to replace the house and also for clothing.
Zinc, half pound of nail. You check where it comes from, and it never leak. So until we're done, anything could work, Anybody out there who could assist, who would like to help, Phone number 623-8621, and my phone number for reach me, right? Contact number, anybody who would like to assist, Okay, no, I have nothing, they don't. I have toothbrush, No have deodorant, unless I go buy one. But as I say, right, everything gone. You check for my hands, my road check, right now, everything gone.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Anyone who would like to assist Tyrone Stephen can contact him at 623-8621. Today, Chief Magistrate Sharon Fraser granted a stay of execution in the case of Ramiro de la Rosa. He was sentenced earlier this month after police searched his home in Duck Run 2 community and rounded him and his wife up for a loaded shotgun that was licensed to his recently deceased father. De la Rosa, who was ill-advised, pleaded guilty to possession of unlicensed firearm and ammunition, was sentenced the same day to 3 years imprisonment. His sentence has drawn outrage from residents in the Cayo community who thought it was too harsh. Attorney Orson Elrington, who now represents De La Rosa, filed an appeal of the sentence. Elrington updated us on what happened in court today.
We took on the challenge of trying to assist Mr. De La Rosa because we thought it was in the interest of justice. So, effectively, and that is exactly what the law requires, that for a stay of execution to be granted, that it must be in the interest of justice. And one of the most important criteria in that is that there must be a reasonable prospect of success at appeal. And so today what we would have had to convince the learning magistrate was that on appeal, that it was in the interest of justice for this stay to be granted, and that we had a reasonable prospect of success for the appeal. We had submitted our stay of execution, and our appeal is basically on two grounds. One, that the learning magistrate erred in law when she determined that the words uttered by Mr. De La Rosa was a unequivocal guilty plea. We disagreed, and that even if it was a guilty plea, that the sentence handed down was unjustly harsh. The learning magistrate, in her oral delivery of her judgment today, said that she did not agree with our submission that there was an error in law, but that she did agree that there was a possibility of a reasonable prospect of success in trying to appeal the sentence in this matter, and therefore she granted the stay of execution. Essentially, the stay of execution is a halt as to the judgment handed down by the court, and so basically a pause, and so Mr. De La Rosa would be granted his freedom. The second part to that was that she also had to grant bail and bond, and so it was two parts: the stay of execution and also the bail, the bond.
De La Rosa, who has been hospitalized with anxiety and stomach issues ever since he was handed down the sentence, will be freed from the hospital as soon as he is well enough. He will then appear before Supreme Court, where the actual appeal of his guilty plea and sentence will be heard. Today, he received bail in the amount of $8,000. In other court news, the prosecution presenting the case against attorney Andrew Bennett did not reach very far in court today when their attempt to submit wiretapped evidence was struck out by Justice Westman James on grounds that the U.S. violated Bennett's constitutional rights. But Justice James did not rule to stay the proceedings because he believes there is other evidential material that could be considered. Bennett became the subject of an intense U.S. investigation and subsequent request for his extradition in December 2017 for allegedly engaging in a money laundering operation in Puerto Rico. Since then, there have been several adjournments in his case following arguments by Bennett's attorneys Anthony Sylvester and Ileana Swift. Following Justice James' decision today, the matter was referred back to the lower courts, where the extradition proceeding is still pending. Bennett has maintained his innocence throughout the hearing. The Ministry of Health and Wellness continues with its nationwide vaccination campaign, and this Saturday, a vaccination center was set up at the Michael Finnegan Market in Belize City. It joined in the efforts from the Central Health Region, and hundreds of persons accessed the area to get their first jab of the COVID-19 vaccine. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
Minister of Health and Wellness Michelle Shabat and his team from the ministry were out at the Michael Finnegan Market, where a vaccination clinic was set up as part of its nationwide campaign to get as many persons vaccinated. Bustling with residents who were out shopping for fresh fruits and vegetables, it was an ideal setting as public health officials were handing out masks and educating people about the purpose of the campaign. Minister Shabat says that the goal is to give as many people that added layer of protection to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Perfect scenario for us. We are on our national vaccine campaign, and we're here at the Michael Finnegan Market this morning. I'm pleased to say that we've done about 100 persons since we started this morning, and we're looking forward to having some more persons come out and take advantage of the fact that the vaccines are out here and accessible to them. We keep on saying the vaccine saves lives. We've moved to a stage where you can't only think about yourself, but you must think about your family, you must think about country. And this is the only way that we can reopen our country. We have so many people who have been left without a job, and we want our citizens to get back to work, but this is the only way to do it.
The purpose of the countrywide drive is to reach those who, for whatever reason, may not have been able to access a vaccination center. And on Saturday alone, hundreds of persons came out.
I came out to take my vaccine because I'm a frontline worker, and I communicate with a lot of people. I don't know why I catch the virus or anything, so I decided to come and get vaccinated today.
Why you take so long to get vaccinated?
Because I afraid for needle. That's why.
But it was easy.
Yeah, I don't feel no pain nothing yet, but.
And you don't feel no kind of symptoms?
No, but I encourage people to come and take it because it's good.
Frightened at first, but glad I get over it. I'm kind of afraid, but you know, I work at the terminal with people, interact with a lot of people, so it best I could get tested before it's too late.
This time your first shot, right?
Yeah, this is my first time. I'm kind of nervous, but I pulled through good.
Persons who may have difficulty to access our health facilities, who are here already, can come and take the opportunity to get the vaccine. We're collaborating with the team from the Ministry of Health and Wellness as well, and that has helped us a lot because it's been such a great success being here.
After a person's data is entered into the system, they then go to a public health officer who administers the jab of COVID-19 vaccine. An area was set up for that 15-minute wait time, after which the inoculated can then leave. Simultaneously across the city at the Central Health Region compound, that vaccination center was also active administering the jab.
In health, we do know that access is very important. So access doesn't really only mean where you're located. Your hours of working, the times that you can do outreach, go to people's homes and go to their businesses and come out into public spaces as well. Because we need to be available and we need to be everywhere where persons will be so that they have no excuse and all the opportunities to take on the vaccine once we're at their location. Well, we have two constant places besides our health facilities, and that is at Swift Hall by St. Martin's Church on Vernon Street, and also at Central Health Region at the old nursing school compound. But all our health facilities also give vaccines, and Matron Roberts constantly gives vaccines on a Saturday, along with our site at the old nursing school.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
The goal is to reach herd immunity, which is to have about 70% of the country's population vaccinated. 121,487 persons have received their first vaccination so far, and 46,596 are fully vaccinated. The data is showing that of the COVID-19 patients who are hospitalized, majority have not been vaccinated. Health Minister Michelle Shabat says that the vaccine has numerous benefits.
Once you get vaccinated, it does a couple things. It prevents you from getting severe symptoms, it prevents you from being hospitalized, and it prevents you from dying. The other thing that is not spoken too much about is that once you're vaccinated, even if you should contract the virus, your viral load is so low that the possibility of you spreading it to somebody else becomes minimal. And that is important because you find that we know that the virus is spread by human contact. So the more contact you have with people, the more exposed you are. But when you're vaccinated, it brings down the capacity of you transmitting to somebody else.
On Saturday afternoon, a small group of persons in support of the anti-vaxxer group, the Belize Rights and Justice Movement, organized a small protest at the Belize Civic Center compound. They were holding placards and sharing information as to why they are against the vaccination exercise. We asked the Minister of Health and Wellness to comment on the anti-vaccine campaign by the group. Here's what Minister Michelle Shabat had to say.
I've said it and I'll just say it one more time. These guys have no scientific basis for what they're saying. There's no legal basis for what they're saying. What they're doing is fear-mongering, and they're doing a disservice to the Belizean public.
Just ahead, the port of Belize slowly rebounding after COVID downturn. Details when we return.
What is climate change? Climate change, or global warming, as defined by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, is said to be the process of our planet heating up. The Earth has warmed by an average of 1 degree Celsius in the last century, and although that might not sound like much, it means big things for humans and wildlife around the globe. Rising temperatures is making our weather more extreme and unpredictable. Some impacts of climate change in Belize are flooding, drought, unstable weather patterns, and changes in seasons that affect agriculture, human, and wildlife activities. What is REDD+? REDD+ is a mitigation activity to reduce carbon emissions and increase carbon stock in the forest sector. The name REDD+ stands for Reducing Emission from Deforestation and Forest Degradation, plus Conservation, Sustainable Management of Forest and Carbon Stock Enhancement. How can REDD+ be a solution? Trees breathe the greenhouse gases we produce. We can start caring more for our forests by planting more trees and keeping our landscapes intact. Our forests are part of the solution. Also, by encouraging the adoption of sustainable forest management in Belize, we can help restore forests that have been lost.
Forests are linked to all aspects of human well-being. Think about the clean air that forests provide, that oxygen that we breathe. If it wasn't so clean, especially during that fire season, we would actually be facing a lot of problems. So breathing clean air is something that we may take for granted, but it's actually something that forest provides and that contributes to our health and happiness. One of the advantages of doing things associated with REDD+ in Belize is that it actually is a great mechanism for us to be able to maintain forests while at the same time sustainably using them and keeping all the services and goods that the forest provides to us intact, for example, water. At night, it's the trees and the plants in the forest that actually release that water that goes up in the atmosphere and eventually comes back as rain. If we don't have forests, that water is gone. If we think about our food security and the food that we eat, the agriculture industry and how important it is for Belize, we don't necessarily associate it sometimes with actual forest. But it's those forests that actually feed the soil organisms that cycle the nutrients and make our soils fertile. It's those forests that are a house and home for pollinators that pollinate our crops. And it's those forests that maintain the water that our agricultural areas need to thrive. Otherwise, we would be subject to things like droughts.
There is hope with Red Plus.
Continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
The Port of Belize Limited is slowly bouncing back after taking a major hit to its bottom line in 2020 at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Sugar exports were down and cruise ships stopped coming to Belize. This led the Port of Belize to terminate a significant portion of its staff in order to keep the company afloat. Chief Executive Officer at the Port of Belize, Andy Lane, was a guest on Channel 5's Open Your Eyes this morning.
With the decrease in tourists, with the lockdowns and the slowdowns generally in the economy, then in 2020 we lost 1/5 of our container volumes, right? At the same time, our sugar exports declined by 50%, and then suddenly the cruise ships stopped in totality, right? So that was a 90, I think statistically that was a 97 or a 94% loss that we had in 2020. 2021, we've seen a little bit of recovery, but my volume and therefore my revenue is still 13% below 2019. We have one cruise ship a week instead of 2 or 3 per day, and my sugar is still very low. It's still 50% of 2019. So we've had a pretty huge hit to our revenue stream, and that's caused a major problem to the bottom line. And we need to manage that the best we possibly can.
How do you go about perhaps systematically addressing each one of these issues?
Our revenue stream is not something that we necessarily have direct control over. And another thing to remember about our revenue stream is that we work with a tariff which dates back to the early 1980s. So there has been no increase in unit revenues in nearly 40 years since the port began. So without the unit revenues increasing, and we can't just push up the unit revenues either, because that simply just makes the price for consumers for imported goods more expensive. It makes Belizean exports less attractive in the world. So the only thing we can really focus on is our cost, and our cost is king for us right now, and we need to make every effort that we can. So in 2020, we unfortunately had to say goodbye to 34 staff, and that hurt a lot. It hurt the people, it hurt the company, it hurt the remaining employees. But it was a situation that we were essentially forced into. We have to make sure that the business is sustainable.
CEO Lane also addressed the negotiations between PBL and the Christian Workers Union since talks resume on Wednesday. Lane says a first meeting will be held to discuss the staff collective bargaining agreement, and then another meeting will discuss a request from the union for sugar redundancy packages with the move by ASR BSI to the Big Creek port.
We will get into those discussions starting on Wednesday with the staff CBA, and we will continue discussions next week in relation to the stevedores and the sugar redundancy. Just to get onto that, you know, the word redundancy.
I was going to say, so PBL has to pay redundancy to stevedores who will no longer be collecting that portion. Well, based on sugar.
Well, the thing is, redundancy means that you leave employment and you get compensated or severed from that employment.
Because you're no longer needed.
We're not severing the employment of anybody. So there is no redundancy.
You can imagine that this is not going to be a position that is accepted by the stevedores.
I've spoken with some of the stevedores. It was a little bit of an emotional and heated discussion, but I asked several of the stevedores, you know, if you talk about redundancy, how many of you would like to sever your employment with the Port of Belize and then take your redundancy payment? Because if people come forward and ask for voluntary redundancy, then, you know, maybe we would consider that. We have a lot of stevedores. We have a lot of reserve and stevedores waiting, or we have a lot of people waiting to become stevedores. So we can have those discussions, but the stevedores do not want to be made redundant. They want to continue working with the Port of Belize.
In related news this afternoon, the United Democratic Party sent out a release in support of the stevedores. The party says the move by ASR BSI to transfer its operations from the Port of Belize in Belize City further south to Big Creek Port in the Stan Creek District comes despite the 2006 MOU and without, quote, affording the Christian Workers Union the courtesy of anything remotely close to meaningful consultation on the matter. Instead, blindsiding the union with a decision already signed, sealed, and delivered, unquote. The UDP says the move imposes additional costs on the sugarcane industry, which must now transport their product double the distance. The party calls on the government to review the decision it says was made in the interest of a select few. State Bank Enterprises has been granted an application for judicial review of the environmental clearance granted to Port of Magical Belize. The Department of the Environment gave the clearance in April, but State Bank Enterprises has challenged this, claiming it is too close to their own port and poses environmental threats. They had also alleged the clearance was given without adequate research and documentation, which is something the Chief Environmental Officer Martin Alegria has refuted. Road safety was the focus today as the Department of Transport received a donation of 16 speed guns, 26 breathalyzers with 5,000 mouthpieces. The equipment was handed over by the CEO in the Ministry of Economic Development, Dr. Osman Martinez, to the Chief Transport Officer, Diane Vasquez. According to the Government Press Office, the handing over was made possible through the partnership of the Government of Belize and the Caribbean Development Bank. The loan received from CDB supports interventions to build the country's road safety management capacity, improve the safety of road infrastructures, and improve post-crash care. The Ministry of Transport reminds Belizeans of the emotional, psychological, and financial burden placed on families of crash victims, and that road trauma is a preventable public health challenge. Just ahead, the outcry against the death of Laddie Gillett continues. But first, here's the weather forecast with data from the Belize Met Service.
the importance of running water and proper drainage in your home. That's why we rely on a fully functional plumbing system. At Belize, we have all the plumbing supplies and accessories you need. Our pipes, fittings, valves, and adapters are made from durable quality materials. Remember to wash your hands with clean running water from your faucet. We have kitchen and bathroom faucets in various styles and finishes. Whether for installation or maintenance, make sure to use recommended PVC cleaner, solvent, and Teflon tape to fix or prevent leaks. We also have the tools to get the job done. For all your residential, commercial, or industrial plumbing needs, shop at Belize. Quality and savings.
Why, Tony?
Boy, kid, where you going, man?
We actually come see we can need to buy a stack of them plastic plates and cups for my grocery shop because I run low.
Boy, I stopped importing that thing since April 15th, you know. And I just ran out to the last batch, must be about like 3 weeks back, you know.
Man, do I usually have that thing? Where you going?
Check this, right? Under the new law, we ban all single-use plastics, so that the cups, plates, forks, spoons, and knives, all of that. Since April 15th, can't import none of them. Starting January 15, 2021, you can't manufacture them. April 15, 2021, you can't sell them. And after July 14, 2021, if you get catch with any other thing, you will get fined.
Me never know this. I guess I have to make some changes then. I have to make the customers know that anything not available. Anyways, bro. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Take care.
I was 17 and in love, and I thought he loved me too. But now I know that a loving partner should not take away your choice of clothes you wear or the music you listen to. He should not take away your purse, car keys, or your phone so that when your family calls, you cannot answer. If your partner is controlling you, it is domestic violence. Call 0800-A-WAY OUT or our cell phone number 672-9628. This message is brought to you by the National Women's Commission in collaboration with Miss Universe Belize with funding from the Engender and Spotlight Project.
Es un hecho. Únicamente con Smart obtienes todo realmente ilimitado. Solo con Smart obtienes datos ilimitados en cualquier momento. Mientras que con el otro proveedor solo son datos dobles los fines de semana. Con datos ilimitados todos los días no hay necesidad de esperar, así que es un hecho que nuestros planes ilimitados superan a la competencia. Por lo tanto, no permita que le digan cómo y cuándo usar sus datos y obtenga llamadas, mensajes de texto y datos ilimitados. Vive la verdadera experiencia de planes ilimitados con Smart. Es un hecho. Haga el cambio y viva Smart.
The rallies since the killing of 14-year-old Laddie Gillett in Placencia have persisted countrywide. Since last week and over the weekend, 3 communities have come out calling for constitutional and police reform. Here's Marian Ali with a summary of those events.
Eric Clapton's rendition of the song Tears in Heaven set a somber mood in San Pedro on Saturday night as residents dropped off lit candles at the Lion's Den where a shrine in memory of Laddie Gillett stood. Strictly adhering to COVID safety regulations, the residents held a motorcade to song their displeasure over the youth's killing.
One thing them can't do is fight the truth. I got friends and family who love me.
On Friday evening, Belize City youths assembled at the Battlefield Park once again, led by We Walk as One Foundation and its founder, Brian Guardado. They say their protests are against not just one incident, but a string of tragedies that date back for years.
We're not just out here for Laddie, we're out here across the board for those who have been murdered over the years. And so it's time for our youth to speak out. And if you could see behind me, most of the persons out here are youths.
This is a problem that we've had in this country for way too long. Ever since I've moved here, I've been knowing this is a problem. And it hurts my heart that it took the death of a 14-year-old, someone who's the exact age as my younger brother. It took the death of him for people to wake up and realize that it's enough. We've had enough.
Among those who decided that enough is enough and that his own presence at the rally was necessary was Patrick Herbert. He says he has sons who are also Laddie's age.
I have two young kids, right? 17 and 13. And I could relate to this situation. You know, Laddie, a kid way had everything to look for, right? My kids, then I see him, right? So it hit close to home, you know. So I can't, the home, they just sit by and watch these things happening. I have to do a job. I compelled to do a job.
There were also protesters who gathered at Centennial Park in Benqueviejo last Wednesday. Throughout the country, no matter where they live, their unified voices have called for one thing in common: police reform.
We need our leaders for do the right thing, for realize that the system broken. You need to be true to your mandate. No police brutality. No police brutality. No police brutality.
Reporting for News 5, I am Marion Ali.
Joining in the chorus for police reform is a group of citizens who are circulating a petition they plan to send to Prime Minister John Briceño. They have called for a series of measures to be taken against police officers who they feel are no longer worthy of being in the force. They have also called for the creation of an independent body to perform regular and random audits and inspections to ensure transparency, accountability, and officer compliance with Belizean Police Professional Code of Conduct. In addition, they have also called for intensive training of police officers on topics such as peaceful conflict resolution. And that's the news. Please stay with Channel 5 tonight for a special program, Get the Facts, Dispel the Myths. The panel of experts include Dr. Atanasio Cobb, Dr. Mark Musa, and Dr. Jorge Hidalgo. Sharing their experiences battling COVID-19 will be Gabriela Guerra and Ingrid Vega. Other featured guests include Father Brian Christopher, Michelle Reyes, and Attorney General Magali Marin Young. Get the Facts, Dispel the Myths is hosted by William Neal and begins at 7:30 p.m. right here on Channel 5. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.